All right, good morning. It is Friday morning and I'm going to try this again. I have things I needed to, here we go. All right, so let me post a couple comments that need to be there for you because we're going to need this information along the way. And then we will get started. All right, good morning. I am Sylvia McIntosh, and we are here for Forgiveness Fridays. I'm your host. I was trained by the Fearless Living Institute in Sherman Oaks, California. So I am certified as both a life coach and a certified fearless trainer. Welcome. This series is aimed at forming a community to support healing the holes in the souls of humanity. Today I'm here with you live, so please feel free to post your questions and comments. I also hope you will join our live conversation in the Forgiveness Fridays Zoom chat room. You need the invitation for that, so you must get on my email list or send me a private message so I can send you that information. And would love to have you join me there. That will start at 9:30. And as of today, June 5th, and all the way through July, our Forgiveness Fridays are going to meet at 9, and the Forgiveness Fridays Zoom chat will be at 9:30 because we have friends in California who want to be a part of this, so I'm trying to make it easier for them. So, for our purposes, we're going to start by defining what I mean by forgiveness. I define forgiveness as release of an event or comment so it can stay in the past where it really is. And this means letting go as completely as we can so we are no longer expend energy reopening and reliving an old wound. Okay? Now, I'm not suggesting you just forget it like it didn't happen, it has no meaning. Some things like civil injustice and bodily harm need to be remembered. So we are prepared to guard against future harm. But we don't have to continue to be traumatized and experience all of the painful emotions of that day, event, comment. Right? So forgiveness has to do with letting go of the negative energy surrounding it in order to be able to make positive motion forward from that event. This includes changing policy. I mean, it's not just about our personal interactions. I think this has gotten really much bigger. I started all this because of the pandemic, and now we have on top of that all of the increased awareness around the racism, the subtle racism, not so subtle to some people, in our country, and now I think this exposure can really help heal that at long last. So that's what I'm looking forward to. For June and July, we are going to open each of these sessions by entering into a forgiveness contract. A free PDF copy is available by subscribing to my email list, either on the Make Your Life Your Own Facebook page, or you can go to my website, sylviamcintosh.com, and hit the subscribe button there and just choose the Forgiveness Fridays email list. So for today, you will see down in the comments where I have posted the contract. So what I'd like to do is just take a moment. We're going to take 3 deep cleansing breaths together, and then we're going to read this contract together. So we're going to inhale through our nose, hold the breath at the top, and then exhale through our mouths. We're going to inhale the fresh, clean air around us, and hold that while it fills up with all the tension and worry and negativity we currently house in our bodies, and we're going to blow all of that out. Let's do that again. Let's breathe in the fresh, clean air. Fill that up with any of the remaining tension and negativity and resistance in our bodies, and then blow that out. And one more time. Breathe in the fresh, clean air. And hold that and fill it up with anything we're ready to let go of. and blow it out. All right. Let's read our contract together. And you're going to say I and then your own name as I say my name. And this contract, by the way, is one that was put together by Rhonda Britten, and you will find it in her book, Fearless Living, or you can get the free PDF copy from me. I, Sylvia, am willing to forgive myself. I am willing to forgive any individual or group I believe has hurt, harmed, or betrayed me. I forgive myself for all the times I let myself down or ignored my own needs, wants, and desires. I forgive any judgments or unrealistic expectations I have made of myself or others. I am willing to see the good in myself and others. I am willing to restore my essential nature through forgiveness. I am willing to claim my sense of wholeness as I forgive. No longer do I waste precious time or energy staying stuck in an unforgiving mindset. Instead, I am willing to forgive for my sake. As I forgive, fear dissolves. As I forgive, I am free. And once you print this out, you can sign it. If you have someone to witness it for you, great. If not, just put my name down as your witness. I want you to notice how often the phrase willing to shows up there. So this contract, it isn't a promise of instant results. It's an intention statement about our willingness to move forward from the present moment rather than stay stuck in the past, particularly the painful part. Today, our exercise, we're going to look at some sentence starters that we can use to write a letter of forgiveness. Now, this letter can be written to yourself. It can be written to a person who has hurt you personally, or it can be even written to organizations that you feel are at fault about something. Again, there is a free PDF available by signing up for the Forgiveness Fridays email list, either on my Facebook page, Make Your Life Your Own, or on my website, sylviamcintosh.com. And you will see from the comments, once again, I put this in the comments so you can see it. At least I hope I did. Yes, I did. Good. This is another exercise from Fearless Living that was designed by Rhonda Britten. And there are 3 steps here. So the first step in writing the letter is using these sentence starters and just letting out all of your pain, frustration, fears, whatever it is around this event or these events or this activity or this organization, and just putting it all out there. This is a letter you're writing for yourself. You're not going to send it to anybody. So you don't have to clean up your language. Be as brutally honest as you can. Get it all out. And you can use these in the order they show up. You can rearrange them. You can skip some if they don't seem to fit what you're working on now. And you can add others that occur to you as you're writing. Maybe there's a prompt here that you feel you need and it's not here. Go ahead and add it. All right? So what you're going to write about. What hurt me most was. I blame myself for. Because remember, anything that happened and we're involved, somehow we put ourselves there. Maybe we needed to be there. Maybe there was an incident at work and we needed to be at work. But if it went south, we still get to forgive ourselves and be aware of how we may have contributed to making it worse, if we did. And maybe we didn't. So once again, maybe in this case, that line doesn't apply to you. What scared me was. What I really needed was. What I most regret is. I take responsibility for. What I learned was. And I forgive myself for. And you can write as much as you want on each of these, on most of these, on some of these, on the ones you add, but get it all out. Be specific, be clear, be thorough, because the idea is we've got this all pent up in here. Let's get it out. Let's get it out. Let's spell it out. Let's look at it clearly, completely, so that we can now work toward fixing it, changing it, correcting it, clarifying it. If this involves conversations with other people, like we have going on right now with racism being brought to the forefront again because it has still not been completely fixed in this country, then we can learn how to use forgiveness as a step towards seeking clarification rather than confrontation. Trying to understand where they're coming from so that we have the information we need to try then to make ourselves understood. Once you've written the letter, you can move on to step 2. If there are any specific things that you can do to take responsibility for your actions, make a plan to do so. And then step 3 in this letter is to state the situation, speak your intention to let it go, state your name, and claim that you are releasing yourself from this situation. So I really hope you will sign up and get the PDF copy so you have this as a reference and you can go back to this as many times as you like. I do this one over and over and over again. So moving on, there's been some criticism about people like me quoting Martin Luther King as if I'm using his words to scold people of color who are protesting racist policies. But that's not what I'm doing. It's not what I'm doing here. It's not what I'm doing anytime I post that kind of thing. I'm actually actively studying his speeches to learn more about how he envisioned using nonviolent protest to right wrongs of centuries and build a world in which all people can truly live together in peace and harmony, and most of all, true equality. My comments, at least in my mind, have been directed at my fellow white folks who continue to compare loss of property to loss of life, and blame the protesters for refusing to take this quietly any longer. I'm glad we're not taking it quietly any longer. And also the tendency to ignore the fact that much of the recent violence has actually been started by people who joined the protests with the intent of causing trouble. Fully aware of the tendency, in many cases still, for law enforcement to react more forcibly against crowds of color than against a group of white people, even if those white folks are obviously armed with big guns. This is the insanity I'm working to change. So this statement by Martin Luther King Jr. says it all for me right now. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. At this point, I aspire to that. I can't say that I'm living it, but I aspire to it. It's a goal. It's an intention. It's something I'm working to practice. And it fits right in with my effort to practice forgiveness as an ongoing practice rather than an occasional purging. In addition to forgiveness of the underlying fear that breeds the racism, I'm grateful to see more of this issue in all its vicious subtlety being exposed, because we cannot right a wrong if we don't recognize that it's wrong. And I applaud the courage and clarity that so many people are expressing now, and that social media, including YouTube and Facebook and others, is giving these voices that before could so easily be ignored or silenced because all we had was the public media, and that was controlled by editors. I'm glad we have these platforms to spread this message and educate those of us living in privileged bubble to wake up and allow us to re-educate ourselves, to recognize and question the assumptions on which we base our existence and interactions with those around us. My personal confusion sometimes stems from the fact that my dad is a refugee to this country from Nazi Germany. They fled to Germany, to Italy, because it was close. Talking about it growing up, he always made it sound like they just moved. They didn't just move, they fled. And they probably, I don't know this now, and he's not alive, I can't ask anymore, but they probably were never Italian citizens. They never got to assimilate into society. They were there as refugees until they could get somewhere else. And after, what did I come up with? It's either 11 or 13 years, they finally got to come to America. And my dad, he wasn't raised in Judaism. His parents were both Jewish, but they had converted when he was 3, so he wasn't raised in the religion. But for those who recognize Judaism also as a race, he was Jewish. He was a German Jew all the way through. As far back as I've been able to trace, that's all there are. But when he came here, he simply identified as white and as American. He joined the American Army in order to lose his accent. That's how much he wanted to be an American. He didn't want to stick out in any way. He changed his name. He Americanized his name. He wanted to be an American. And so his approach was to do what white America is doing. And that's how he raised me. We didn't talk about color. He never disparaged color or race, but we also never talked about it. And I didn't even realize that this lack of conversation was a problem until I was in college. And then I didn't have any tools to figure out how to get engaged in that kind of conversation. So I'm working on it now. So I also like to focus on the definitions of humanity, and I am using definitions from the Webster's Dictionary of 1828, which I love because of the depth of detail that is missing from the contemporary definition like I found on Wikipedia. I'm not using all of his definitions, but I'm using 3 of them. So his third definition, the kind of feelings, dispositions, and sympathies of man by which he is distinguished from lower orders of animals. Kindness, benevolence, especially a disposition to relieve persons in distress. Relieve persons in distress, not cause further distress. And treat with tenderness those who are helpless and defenseless, opposed to cruelty. Humanity. We're all a part of humanity. This is what humanity is. His 4th definition, a disposition to treat lower orders of animals with tenderness, or at least to give them no unnecessary pain. And his 5th definition is the exercise of kindness, acts of tenderness. Humanity. We're all a part of humanity. Let's behave like we are members of humanity. Imagine how, as we actively practice forgiveness, releasing all the big and little hurts of the past so we can all exercise kindness and acts of tenderness, benevolence, especially to relieve persons in distress. So your assignment this week, if you choose to accept, is to take that letter of forgiveness and write one today. Write several. Write one all week long. Let's see what we can let go of. Let's remain present so we can be open to options and possibilities and find peaceful ways, peaceful and effective ways of truly changing the underlying system that is allowing this kind of suppression of people of color. And at the moment, it seems particularly strong against Black people, Black men. It's got to stop. It should have stopped long ago. So we start from where we are. We've got to stop it now. So we need to be clear on what needs to be righted and drop the anger so we can stay engaged in a positive, productive conversation and get away from blame and clarify details. That's my opinion. So I want to thank you for coming and joining this community to support healing the holes in the souls of humanity. I'm Sylvia McIntosh with Make Your Life Your Own. I hope to see you at 9:30 in the Zoom live chat room that we have about Forgiveness Friday. If you don't yet have that invitation, please either PM me now or sign up on the Forgiveness Fridays email list so I can send you that invitation. We're going to be here live at 9 o'clock all the way through July, and at 9:30 we're going to have our discussions in Zoom where you can participate in a conversation. So I hope to see you there. Until next week, have a great week, and don't let anyone stop you from standing up for what's right for everyone.